Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David, of course, and I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction Renovation magazine. That's what it used to look like. This is actually an archive. May, June 2015. Andrea and Brian McGinnis from Wine Styles. There they are. This was a great looking issue. It's so much fun to look and see what you actually look like. I've been showing people what this is actually May. I went to the national championship there. This was in Philly. I was in the DU trailer way back when. My hair, I have a little more hair and it's a little less gray. But anyway, it's really cool to look back. I had a 2007 one, I think, a couple episodes ago. I just grabbed them out of the archive box. And anyway, it's amazing what just 8 years ago, what things look like and how things have changed and, and everything else that we've gone through. So, time, man, it just flies when you're having fun. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I'm a lacrosse guy, obviously by the sticks behind me. And big weekend of lacrosse. It's like March Madness. Everybody was in league play. And Friday night, my DU Pioneers took on Marquette, won 15-14. So Big East tournament coming up Thursday against Villanova. We win that. We go in the championship game. We win that. We get an auto bid into the NCAA tournament coming up. And only 16 teams get bids. So we got to win the tournament to get in. And it's Coach T's 42nd year. He's retiring after this. So it'll be the greatest. It could be a movie. The guy's going to be in the College Hall of Fame. He's got the USA lacrosse facility named after him. He'd be the most winningest coach in college lacrosse history, and he already has 7 titles. This would be number 8. It's just an amazing story. So it'd be so cool for him to go out after 42 years with another national championship. And he never even played lacrosse. He was a basketball coach. I think that's what his resume is. But I know he wasn't a lacrosse guy, but here he is, leading all these powerhouse teams. So hats off to them. Our Georgia Swarm, they took it on the chin. Had to win on Saturday night to get into the playoffs, and congrats to Halifax. So the NLL playoffs are done, and was watching some hockey last night, and the defending champion Avs, they got bumped. Boston Bruins got bumped. It's all the perennial powers that are normally in there. They took it on the chin, and they're going on vacation in an early summer. So. But to all the teams that won, congratulations and good luck in the next scene. So with that said, it's beautiful here in Atlanta today. It's about 66, sunny, nice breeze, no humidity. It's gonna be nice all week, and it's basically springtime here still. Humidity hasn't come in, and I'm gonna enjoy it. Because when it does, boy, man, it's like a flick of a switch, man. Boom, it hits you like with a ton of bricks hitting you. So today, I have a gentleman right across the border in South Carolina and Columbia. His name is Rich Ferrara. Yeah, right just north of me, about an hour and a half. He's the president and managing member of SignWave, and he's been in the sign industry for a long time, known Rich forever. Rich, say hello to our listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hey, folks. How was everybody? Hope everybody had as good a weekend as we did.
Yeah. So the reason why I had Rich on is because there's so much rebranding that's going on, whether it's with your own website, end users. I mean, everybody's trying to, get their brand out there, differentiate themselves from their competitors. And, signage it's everything. It's your identity. It's got architectural, it's got energy. It's got location. It's got all of these different aspects to it. And it's just not just signage when people think of it. And I just walked the sign show a couple of weeks back in Vegas and saw some cool stuff that they're coming out with. And I thought having a branding guy who's actually rebranded his own new firm that's going through it would be a good way to start the week off on a positive note. So, Rich, we really appreciate you finding the time, to kind of tell your story and so forth. So this is how it works. We're going to do it in 3 parts. You'll tell your story, where you grew up, how you ended up where you are today as an entrepreneur. And then we'll talk about the roller coaster over the last 3 years, lessons learned.
Yeah.
and any new products, cool stuff that you're doing. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase with the audience, your contact info, and then we'll close this discussion out. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Well, thank you. Honestly, before I tell you a whole lot about me, a very small part is that I'm starting to learn a little bit about lacrosse. I've got some friends. Now, I'm from Eastern Long Island originally, and I've got some friends who have children who are just knocking it out of the park. So keep your eye out in future years for Melina Sarlo at Hofstra. Hofstra has not had a terribly wonderful season, but I think the chemistry between some of the new kids that are coming into the Hofstra program and the coaching staff is going to elevate their game. So shout out to Hofstra lacrosse. Although I'm just kind of cracking the surface of lacrosse.
You know, lacrosse is kind of like basketball and hockey and football all wrapped in one. You know, you got the physical aspect, you got the same plays that basketball and hockey guys do, and then you know, you got that mental toughness. But it's just like anything else. If you can catch and throw, you 95% is done. You know, we can't, you know, we can teach you the plays, but you know, you got to be an athlete. And but like I said, as a lacrosse guy, right now it's like the greatest time, because they just, you know, all the league championships were kind of decided this week or this weekend or this week, and then the and the bids go out, and then they do the national championship over Memorial Day weekend. And if you've never been to a lacrosse championship, they do D1, D2, and D3. So you get to see all the schools over that weekend. So they do the semifinals on Saturday. And then on Sunday, they did the D1 and D2. And then on Monday, they do the national championship for the D1 game. And it's a ton of fun. I mean, they've got tents out, all the vendors, and, you know, it's a scene. And I was lucky enough to go when DU won their first championship in 2015. We beat the Irish, and then we beat Maryland in the finals. And you know, as a Western school, it was the first time ever that the national championship had gone west of the Mississippi. So, and we've been in there, you know, for the last, you know, 5-7 years, missed it a couple of times, but we're always in there. And this year, like I said, the coach is retiring. It's a swan song, and I think it would be an awesome way to do it. But being from Long Island, you were in lacrosse. That's the lacrosse hub, you know?
I know. I was baseball and football in high school.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
So I graduated from East Hampton High School in 1989. So I grew up out on the eastern end of the South Fork of Long Island. Generational locals out there. It was a wonderful place to grow up. A lot of artistic heritage. Some of the local artists and writers, legendary from that part of the world, and still are, and still gather regularly. And I go out there often. A lot of our clients are in New York City, and I'll hop a train and go out to East Hampton, and I have a great time hanging out with a lot of my friends from high school, and we get together. So, but yeah, that's originally where I'm from, Sag Harbor, East Hampton area, just kind of a native and a local from there. Eventually went to Slippery Rock University in Western Pennsylvania. Had a good time there. Wanted to kind of get into sports broadcasting because I wasn't the greatest athlete, but man, did I love playing sports. So I started taking a lot of communication classes, and eventually discovered in the very early 90s that digital graphic design was starting to appear in some of the classrooms, and I was really intrigued by it. So that bug kind of bit me. And I had an opportunity after, you know, studying a year or two with some of the new technology back then. I got an opportunity to lay out a Catholic book publishing company's order form catalog. Seemed like a pretty easy thing to do, but I quickly realized I was in way over my head, and I begged my professors, can I please stay here through the summer and work in the graphics lab and try to get this done. And And they did, and they were very encouraging, gave me keys to the room, and coached me along the way. So it was kind of like a fit of survival, and it turned out great. It was a big success, but that's when the design bug kind of bit me, and I sort of kind of forgot about wanting to be any kind of a sports broadcaster. Um, and
I took communications class in college too, at the University of Denver. They had a TV studio and all that stuff, and you go in there, you think it's completely different than what you think it's going to be. It
mhm,
just is.
yep,
And
yep.
so
It is, there's a lot of different things in the classes with radio and writing and editing and things, which I kind of enjoyed. But for some reason, it was like for me, doing graphic design work was like my 12-year-old son being in front of his Xbox. It's like I couldn't get away from it because there was so much stuff I could do, and it was great. And then I eventually wound up working for a company that designed and manufactured motocross clothing. So they would do event T-shirts for motocross events all throughout the country, and we also did jerseys and racing uniforms for different pro racing teams and things. So, but that's back in the days when we were exposing screens using dark rooms and small like pieces of developing equipment and being all day in a dark room just to
oh
make the
yeah.
color separations for the front of a shirt. So I don't know. And I guess the design theme has kind of followed me throughout my career, but starting in the basement of it all, learning how to design things, and then eventually working in places where I made color separations, and then eventually I worked some part-time jobs doing paper printing things, and then eventually to a friend's sign company in Western Pennsylvania, where he needed some design work and help, and a responsible right hand kind of guy, very small sign company in Western Pennsylvania. um, and that's really kind of where the sign thing all grew, because it was a few different sign companies in the Western Pennsylvania area, and then I wound up moving here to Columbia, South Carolina, for a pretty big sign project that lasted a couple of years. um, I've partnered up as a subcontractor to other larger sign companies and have had great relationships and things. And so today where we sit is kind of doing this on our own. The team of people that we have all been together for nearly 11 years. And we're having a great time doing it. It's been fantastic. It's a wonderful career. I love it. The relationships are the best part, obviously. But yeah, so that's kind of where I am now.
Welcome to entrepreneurship. You're now the captain. You go down with the ship or you stay up with the ship. It's
Yeah.
listen, everything you did from growing up and then doing the jerseys and Slippery Rock and all of those things build your mold to be an entrepreneur. And then whenever that actually happened, like I was forced into it. When I was with Nielsen after 9/11, they shut down 100 magazines, and my little construction book had gotten the axe, and it was like my kid. I think my son was born in 99, and that's when I launched Rock Magazine, Retail Operations Construction, what it used to be called when I was at Nielsen. And you know, so when I look back, when I made the decision to go out on my own, oh my God, there were so many, poo-pooers and doggy downers, don't do it, you can stay. Even my parents, they
Mhm.
were oh, you've got the expense account and blah, 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 you could retire there and this and that. And 9 out of 10 businesses don't make it. But I was set. I mean, I wanted to, roll the dice, and here I am today. And listen, it's been a roller coaster. I mean,
Mhm.
I started my company right after 9/11. I mean,
Yeah.
you never know when, timing in business is everything. But uh,
Well,
like,
I agree with you. I mean, in the 30 years doing sign work, and specifically now in our niche of retail sign work, you get to see, I think that market segment is uniquely affected by economic downturns. And like you say, looking back, you learn so much from looking back to say, well, the next time there's a bump in the road, and then the next time there's a bump in the road, and things. But you're right. Looking back at things gives you, I think, a real good perspective as an entrepreneur. Our case was a little bit different. We were coming out of the 3-year madness, or the 2-year madness, and as things were emerging, the way that we found we need to do business became much different. And so the writing was on the wall. We almost had to do this, and the timing really just made it almost unavoidable. And it was a great thing. I've always kind of been the guy who was a little on the fence about being an entrepreneur. I'd say I've always been a reluctant entrepreneur, but the problem with me and my brain, and I guess, and really the culture of our whole team, is that you constantly want to be doing things better. You constantly want to find different methods that make things better, whether it's for your client or your workflow or other things. And I think once you're driven by those type of ideas, you're an entrepreneur, like it or not.
Signage, I think, is one of the toughest categories from a business standpoint, because I talk to, end users, and, they get pounded by sign guys every day. It's kind of like being a general contractor. There's a ton of those guys out there, and they're all building, they're all doing, what differentiates yourself from your competition. But I think signage, we always do our signage report in the magazine every year. And we rank the manufacturers and stuff and list them, but it definitely is a very competitive niche to be in. The second thing is, a lot of the sign guys that I know that are entrepreneurs, they started out early doing something. And, whether it was, I know my bud in Philly, Jim Malin, he saw some, when they used to paint on the outside of the stores or the inside,
Sure. Yeah.
and stuff, now they're in the neon. So just a lot of the sign guys, they always had that little something grabbed them, and that's what gravitated into them. And now they're doing these rollouts or refreshes or rebrands and all that kind of stuff. So, but it's very competitive. I mean, there are big ones, there are small companies, they're coast to coast, and it's a very tough business, to beat your competition, and because they're on your heels every day. And and that's a good thing, because competition makes you be, if you want to be the best, you got to play the best, as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah, that's true. I think you always have to be pretty reliable, and you got to have some longevity, because the people who really want to get the job done and need to get it done on time, and need to make sure budget's not going to be all over the place, and you're working on high profile neighborhoods, Madison Avenue, Fifth Avenue, Worth Avenue in Palm Beach, North Michigan Avenue in Chicago. You have to be familiar with these things, and you have to have something behind you, usually a bit of experience. And then of course the relationships. So again, that will, kind of help you through the competition. And and honestly, right now, a unique time, I think, is that there's actually more work than there are sign companies to do them.
Oh yeah. Listen, when I was at ISA a couple of weeks ago in Vegas, there was I hadn't walked any shows for a couple of years, so this is kind of my first year out, where I've walked NAFM, which is the restaurant equipment food manufacturers gig. Did the HVAC show here in Atlanta. I did the roofing show in Dallas. Just did Vegas. I'm doing Light Fair in a couple of weeks in New York. And the biggest thing was, at the sign was, uh, I saw this really cool thing. He said, like a lot of signs, they might have a tagline,
Mhm.
and they might want to have small letters, and it's time. Anyway, there were a couple of guys that were doing 3D printing with with channel letters and stuff. And but everybody was so friendly, and
Mhm.
and they're kind of everybody's doing the same thing, but they all have kind of their own little look. It's not a Ferrari, it's not a Lamborghini, but they're all, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
and it was good to see a lot. It was good to see people that I hadn't seen, and the new guards coming in, or the son's taking over the business, or what have you. But it was the sign industry is just fun, just in general. I mean, I like going there just to see the wraps on the cars. I think that's
Mhm.
really cool,
Sure.
So let's talk about the last 3 years. So
Mhm.
March 2020, everything gets shut down. Here we are 3 years later. The country's basically open up. Still probably a little regulation here and there, depending on what state you're in. But talk about your mindset from then to today. Obviously, you bit the entrepreneurial apple. Talk about some of the lessons that you learned, and things maybe that some of our listeners out there, commercial construction coffee talk, would want to, that might want be interested in finding out.
Sure. So what we were doing at the time and we're doing now and been doing for quite some time, would be doing some signage rebranding, identity conversion projects, and everything was just kind of rolling along the way it does. We have some clients that have rebranding projects and others who are just opening 17 stores this year, and you just go from one to the other, working with architects and stopping into New York, once every couple of months, have some meetings, shake some hands. Well, not only did the results, the actual signs and the installations and the work that we do was affected, but the way we maintain relationships became affected, right? You can't, some people aren't working as much now in their offices as they were. It might be 2 days a week here, 3 days a week there. So gone are the times when you can really just show up in New York for a week, talk to a couple of contacts, show up, go to some meetings, things like that. So when we got caught, probably March, April, we still had some jobs going. We had a rollout project where we probably had signs built for 10 or 11 locations, and things started to shut down, especially with the labor forces and things. No construction got shut down, everything. So we quickly decided to try and get most of our inventory paid for and put the installations off until later. And then things got very, very quiet. We were very fortunate that we kept all the people that we had. We had to move them around the company a little bit to kind of put them on projects where they would be a little bit busier, and things like that. I kind of survived on savings. We are lucky because we broker almost everything, so we have no manufacturing plants to speak of, or trucks or equipment. So as long as we could kind of lay low for a little while, all of us survived. I also knew that I had a big rebranding effort that had just started, because I was in New York meeting with this company in February of 2020. So it was just
2020.
before everything shut down. So I knew that that was coming. Construction was already underway in a few places. So I knew that if we, made it through this, however long it was going to be, no one knew at the time,
Mm-hmm.
that we'd be okay, because I knew that there was stuff waiting for us. So as we started to emerge out of COVID, things started to slowly get busy again, and everyone has kind of at this point decided, well, I won't say everyone, but it's become very popular for people to rebrand themselves, especially brands and companies that need to have you back in a store. You're gonna buy certain things at certain price points. You're not going to get them on Zappos. You know, you're going to get them on Madison, or you're going to get them downtown in Soho, or, you know, wherever. But ordering them is, you know, not really that big an option for these consumers. So we're back and we're busier than ever. And as far as what I've learned going through that period of time, was if you go into a situation where there's an economic downturn and you can survive it, if you are one of the reliable people in our clients' quiver, then you'll be busy again. And quite possibly busier on the rebound. You know, I also learned that I need a hobby, because I had too much time on my hands for a while. But and then, of course, you know, when our team decided to do this on our own, you know, that immediately got me busier than I've ever been in my life, you know, getting things situated and set up properly, because it wasn't something I was entirely prepared for.
Setting your company up, you know, I always tell people, look, if you're ever going to start a company, have a good attorney, have a good doctor, and have your family behind you, you know, because you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to, you know, but the quicker that you can get yourself established and have that vision and get the, you know, the operating agreement out of the way and all that, you know, that stuff, that startup initiatives, that you're going to be so much better off in the long run. And, you know, like I said, you know, starting business, you know, listen, if you're going to go for it, you got to go for it. You can't, you know, some things you can't control. You couldn't control the shutdown, but you still had this project. So,
right. Well, and the adaptation that you have to make, I think probably, I think that was probably the biggest thing that most everybody dealt with, was how do we adapt to this so that we could still make money? And, some companies diversified their types of signs. Our approach was a little different. I honestly, I was way off on this, but I didn't think that this was going to last all that long. I didn't. And I thought to myself, well, I don't want to start doing printed acrylic sneeze guards and floor vinyls for social distancing and things. I mean, there were plenty of people who were like, wow, we better just do this because the rest of our business is dying. But I didn't want to do it, because I thought, well, I'm going to have to dive deep into an area of signage that I'm not all that familiar with, first of all. And then I'm going to try and rely on it, sustenance. And then who knows, if everything comes back next week, then I'll be elbows deep in a genre of signage that I don't want to be in.
Right.
So I really just waited it out, and it was probably
and listen, there's nothing wrong with that either. You know, I mean, that was the battle plan that you chose. And
yeah,
the biggest thing that over the last 3 years, talking to end users, you know, vendors, all sorts of people, that the people that had a plan, that was flexible and it could change, but they, you know, they took the bull by the horns, per se, and they just kind of figured things out, because you had no choice. I mean, I look at myself. I was a print face-to-face guy. I just had my 10th anniversary summit. I just had my first cocktail party, and then everything got shut down. I was frozen, you know, fighting with the printer. Hey, half the people on my circulation are furloughed or their offices are closed. I don't want to print all those magazines. You're not even going to get delivered. That's a waste of money and postage. Oh, David, you're a publisher. You know, it's economies of scale. Once the press is printed up, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so I bit the bullet. I sent that issue. And then in April, I kind of sat back, and, you know, my editor and my artist were like, hey, let's go digital. You know, and so we, you know, I'm a completely different company than I was in 2020 now. Now I'm 100% digital. I don't print the magazine. I don't miss the post office. I don't miss printing it. I can still do it. But, you know, like this month, I just had 3.5 million people hit my website. Okay. I mean, I never had that kind of traffic on my website, you know, pre-shutdown. So when I look at it, you know, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. Is the glass half full? Is it half empty? You know, if you were I use this all the time, but during the shutdown, if you were a hotelier, normally you do a floor at a time, with new FFE, paint, bedspreads, whatever. Here, the smart ones during the shutdown, if they were shut down, depending on what state they were in, they had time to do it undercover. Building was closed. They didn't have to worry about losing revenue on a floor or what have you, or it could have been a retailer, could have, whatever it might be. But the smart ones, they took advantage of that time, of the downtime, and refreshed the store. So when the country did open up, whenever that was, 3 years later, basically, or 2.5, that they were ready to do business. And
Sure.
and that's just kind of like, I look at it as practice. And you will play as you practice. That's just the reality of game day. Is you practice all week, and then you show how, if you've mastered your technique. So doing what you did, you didn't get out of your lane, and you held to your convictions, and and other people did it other ways. Listen, that's what entrepreneurship is all about. You
Sure.
win some, you lose some, but you still want to be standing at the end of the day,
And whatever,
get up the following day and do it all over again.
yeah, and whatever your plan is, like, be motivated as hell behind it.
Oh yeah. No doubt, no doubt. I mean,
Yeah.
it's with you've made it through. You're still standing. You're busy,
Mhm.
and as we move forward, we're almost halfway through Q2 already. I can't even believe it. It's almost, I can't believe I'm going to turn 60 here in June, at the end of June. So I'm like, it's got to, I got the big milestone coming up. But yeah, and I don't feel 60. I feel like I'm, still 30, 27. I would say I'm turning 26 this year,
Yeah, there you go.
But if there was one positive thought that you'd want to leave with our audience, knowing that we all went through all this stuff,
Mhm.
as we move into the second half of the year, Q3, Q4 of 2023, what would that be? Sorry to put you
I
on.
was thinking about I thought about it. I have to say that I think through all of this, the roots of success lie pretty much in relationships and your reliability as a person who does work, or an entrepreneur, or whatever. So be a good part of a good team of relationships, and where everybody relies on each other. I think that coming out of the past couple of years, I think everybody has kind of felt a little bit more of a kinship with others, and I think it's a result of going through something very difficult together. But I think that relationships are flourishing because of some of the things that we've been through. Just, it's one of those positive byproducts, I think. Tragedies sometimes tend to bring people together in unique ways. I think our lives in the past couple of years have done the same. So I think that people who understand that the roots of success are in relationships and longevity and people, then we all wind up okay.
Hey, listen, nothing's going to replace in-person shaking hands and talking to people. I mean, every day
No.
I kind of pick and choose who I'm going to listen. This is your best tool right here, your phone.
Yep.
Okay. You can shoot emails all day, or, but you should pick and choose X amount of people a day to talk to on the phone, because you'd be amazed at, how many, Zoom calls or, emails that they send every day. But I pick X amount of calls a day that I'll make to talk to someone. And I might be there for an hour. I could be on there for 15 minutes, what have you. But you'd be shocked of how, even though you can't be in front of that person, if you did go into that city, they're probably going to see you because you took the time to call. And it's that's the biggest thing is that getting back to your roots. I'm all for that, because I mean, I always like, look, I'm an athlete, so I kind of always put sports with business. It's the same thing. You win, you lose, you learn, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, you go over and do it again. Even when you don't feel good or you're hurt. So the roots thing, I always go back to my family. I've done so many different things, and I've taken bits and pieces of all the things that I've done over my life, my roots, and I've applied it to myself. So I am right there with you, Rich. And having those relationships,
Yeah,
they're just you never want to burn any bridges. It's a big, small industry. It's a small little world. I was just talking to a guy that ran hurdles at Slippery Rock. I don't know what year he is, but I'm going to have to find out, and I'm going to email you. He had blonde hair and he had a goatee and an earring. I'm like, dude, you got to send me a picture of that,
that's
And,
funny.
but he went to Slippery Rock. We were just talking about that, last week. But this was a phone call that we had,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
And I was interested to learn, by the way, that you're a Taekwondo practitioner.
yeah.
Or were. I was watching your podcast with
Marie. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So my son, who's 12, he's a cadet athlete on the US kickboxing team. And we recently got back from Italy, where he fought in the world championships for the US. Finished, 5th out of 20 kids, which wasn't so bad, but we had a beautiful time near Venice, Italy. But so I love the sports angle you open and display there in the background. I have to polish up on my lacrosse a little bit more, but I was very, very interested to see your Taekwondo gi on your
Well, what happened was, my son, I didn't push him into anything. That was the one thing I did not want to do. I wanted him to do his own gig, have his own mantra. So the only thing that we did do is, when I could walk, my parents put me on skis and skates. So as soon as he could get out of diapers and whatever, he was on, we put him in the skating and, took him out to Vail and skied. And when it came time for him to play competitive, mites in hockey, he's like, I think I want to play roller. So we went down the roller league. So I played in the old man's league. I coached him, won some championships. And then, I don't know, 7th grade, he's like, I'm bored with roller. I want to play lacrosse. So I went, most of the high schools had lacrosse teams. We went in the rec league, and I didn't like how the rec league was run. So I ran for VP and I won, and I oversaw 17 teams, 300 kids. And he did that. But then he's like, I want to take Taekwondo. So I would go down to Taekwondo, a couple days a week. And I'd sit there. This is during BlackBerry. So
I remember you saying it. Yeah.
So I'd sit there on my BlackBerry and I'm looking at my kid, and I was very tough on him. I was, it was kind of like good cop, bad cop with my wife and I, with my son bringing him up. And I was just looking at him. I was like, you know what? I think I need to take this, So I went into the class with him, and he got sick when he was a brown belt, and I couldn't get him to go back, but I continued on. And 2 weeks before my black belt test, I blew my ACL out. So I had to have surgery. And in class, I did a jump side kick, came down, buckled, blew the knee out. And I already blown out my other one 10 years before, so I knew what the gig was, except I was older and I didn't heal as quick. But it took me about 9 months to get back on the mat, and then I went and I passed my test, and I kind of semi-retired out of the lacrosse league. I'm going to get back on the mat, and I'm going to get my 2nd degree. And Taekwondo, it's like any of the martial arts. You never stop learning. There's always something new to learn, and it's your mindset and all of these things. And so you might get to the summit, but you might get to the summit multiple times as you get higher levels, with your belt and your degree. But Taekwondo was a great thing because it was camaraderie with my son. I got to spar against him. You'd be in a line, and then little by little you'd match up with him. Here's your time to beat up on your dear old dad. And so all of that was really, really cool. And then I look at my son today, like he'll tell me, I had him on my podcast, and he said, Dad, if you weren't as hard as me as you were, I wouldn't have gotten hired what I'm doing today. So, I thought it'd be 20 years I'd be hearing that, but I heard it now. So, all of those things. So kudos to your son, for, going through all that, and, good luck to him in the future and stuff. So
thank you.
So Rich, if someone wanted to reach out to you and talk signage, branding, refresh, whatever, how would they contact you?
Can go straight to our website, www.signwave.com, and that's SignWav. There's no E.
No E.
So, yep, signwave.com. That'll get you the phone numbers for me, our managers, and it's a great website. We had a great photographer, videographer, Richard, who does a lot of the high-end retail storefront photographs for the highest end magazines. And then we had his nephew designed our website, and his associate had done the video for it. So it's a fun website. I hope everybody goes there and enjoys it, not just to contact us, but you'll see a variety of our work, mostly in Manhattan. At some point, we're going to continue to do some videos that showcase the Mag Mile in Chicago, and Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, and Worth Avenue, Miami Design District, all places that we've done a lot of work, and stuff that we're very proud of. So from time to time, I think a couple times a year, we'll probably put something together that features something in different cities. Right now, Manhattan is pretty much the feature of what you see on our website. But
signage is so cool because you can go see and say, "Hey, I built that." That's that's my project.
That's kind of why we did the video. We also have a YouTube channel. We did a video, and because when I go down to Soho and I'm on the corner of Spring Street, Mercer Street, Green Street, Prince Street, anywhere, I turn around and there are signs we've put up 10 years ago. There's signs we put up 10 days ago. You just spin around. It's like going into Brookfield Place. You're in the atrium and you're surrounded by all these beautiful retail stores, and 8 of them were projects that we executed when Brookfield was built. So yeah, and the video is just like it. Stroll through Manhattan's neighborhoods and see a lot of the stuff we do. It's fun.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, it's competitive out there. So listen, everybody, if you got a project, or you're looking at another vendor or what have you, here's a guy that's seasoned. He's been in both sides of the fence. He's now in the fence. Now he's an entrepreneur. Give him a call, and if you're just looking for some questions or what have you, channel letters, whatever it might be, he'd be a good resource to pick his brain and so forth with whatever it might be. If someone wants to get in touch with me, you can catch me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. That dash is a little hyphen. And listen, I just had 3.5 million people come to my site. I'm a destination site. They find me, 90% of them find me through Google. They're not just coming to me to hang out because my website. They're coming there to consume content. So if you got something cool out there, I don't care if it's a new personnel announcement, a charity golf tournament you're doing, a case study. It could be anything. Send it to me. I post all day long. I'm a conduit of news, and it's win-win. Once I post something, I'll send you the link and I'll ask you to share it. So if you have something, send it to me. davidc@ccr-mag.com. And I might not get back to you right away, but I always come back to everybody. And if we can help you, get the word out, that's what it's all about. It's like Rich. He reached out to me. We had a talk, blah, blah, blah. And here he is on the podcast. He's going to start he's going to put an ad in the magazine, I think, coming up. So all in all, if you have something, send it to me. It's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. You don't send me something, I can't do, getting the magazine's tough, but we look at everything. So that's the most important thing, that you won't go in vain sending me something. So send it to me. Let me take a look at it. Let me judge the book by its cover. So Rich, pleasure speaking with it's so funny when Columbia. I'll drive north to Greenville, then I hit the highway to Columbia, and then I'm to Charleston where my son lives. So it's an hour and a half. It's actually a nice ride. And
we'll stop through the next time and we'll do real coffee talk.
Well, actually, one of my board members is in Columbia. He's up on one of the little lakes up there, Andy Briggs with A14 Capital. And he told me, he's like, hey, next time you come through there, you give me a call and give me the heads up, and we'll all get together,
Yeah.
And, no, Columbia's a good town. The Gamecocks, you got things going on. And for those of you who haven't been down, South Carolina is a really, really cool state. Greenville's got a lot of happening, a lot of textiles and going on. Columbia's, capital of the state. And then you got the beach. Charleston's like the best kept secret in the South. It's like, extremely expensive to live there, but just beautiful. And like I said, it's a hop, skip, and a jump. you want to fly there, it's 40 minutes, I think, from Atlanta. So
Yeah,
I don't even
it
think
is.
the plane goes up. It just goes whoop, down. So,
Yep.
well, Rich, pleasure. I
Yeah, thank you.
appreciate the time and being a guest on the show. And for all you out there, most important, if you're out on a construction site, make sure you stay safe. We want you to come home at the end of the day, and make sure you stay hydrated, because the humidity's coming in the heat in the summer months, and we want you to stay, water is the best thing you can do, and I'll put a little supplements in there as well. But number one, be safe. Two, drink lots of water. So, Rich, say goodbye from Columbia, South Carolina.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate being on your podcast. We've known each other quite a while, and it's great to be in touch again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, which is just below the Beaufort Dam by Lake Lanier, about 25 miles north of downtown Atlanta. And everybody have a great week. And Memorial Day will be here before you know it, in a couple of weeks. And enjoy all the sports that are going on. I mean, there's just so much stuff going on now right now between b-ball, college, everything's going on. So, and for my Pios out there, come on, man, let's beat Villanova. And let's win that Big East tournament and get in the big dance and do it for Coach T. So with that said, I'm signing off. Rich, I look forward to seeing you on my next time off I-26.
Yes, sir.
All right. And for all you out there, we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Rich, you're the best. I'll be in touch. All right.
Thanks, David. Talk to you soon.
All right, man. See ya.